This barbaric ritual was so extreme that even ancient Rome's darkest entertainment districts banned it. Yet in Constantinople's hippodrome, it occurred nightly, targeting children as young as 10. Discover how systematic child abuse forged history's most dangerous woman and sparks the massacre of 30,000 people. The practice was known as Leader and the Swan. A naked child would be laid on stage while trained animals performed acts that would shock modern audiences. 80,000 spectators cheered as coins rained down on a little girl's body. This was far more than entertainment. It was legalized trafficking on an industrial scale. The 10-year-old enduring this nightmare would grow into the most powerful woman in the Roman Empire, Theodora. Everything started when her father, the bearkeeper, died. This is how childhood trauma creates monsters who reshape history. When Theodora's father passed away, it triggered one of the most systematic child trafficking operations in ancient history. But to understand how the death of a single man could devastate an entire family, you need to know about the Byzantine political system that controlled every aspect of life. Constantinople in 504 CE was divided by two massive political factions, the Blues and the Greens. These weren't just sports teams. They were political parties, controlling jobs, entertainment, and government positions. Every citizen belonged to one faction, and that allegiance determined the course of their entire life. Cassius, Theodora's father, held a key role in the Green faction as the official bearkeeper, training massive brown bears for combat in the hippodrome before 80,000 screaming spectators. When Cassius suddenly died, his family should have automatically inherited protection and employment. That was the law, but everything went catastrophically wrong. Asterius, the Green faction's dancing master who oversaw entertainment positions, accepted a bribe. Instead of safeguarding Cassius's widow and 3 daughters, he handed the bearkeeper position to another man entirely. With a single corrupt decision, he condemned 3 young girls to the most sophisticated child trafficking network of the ancient world. Theodora's mother faced an impossible choice: watch her daughters starve or hand them over to the brutal system that kept Constantinople's entertainment industry profitable. She chose survival, but the cost was unimaginable. To grasp the horror, know that even ancient Romans who invented gladiator death matches considered Byzantine circus entertainment too extreme for civilized society. What followed would today be considered organized child abuse. In a scene of calculated humiliation, Theodora's mother dressed her 3 daughters as supplicants with laurel wreaths and paraded them before 80,000 spectators in the hippodrome. She was effectively advertising them for intimate services, pleading with the crowd to take pity on these children, now available for the darkest demands of the entertainment industry. The Greens, responsible for this crisis through corruption, turned their backs completely, but the Blues showed mercy, offering work to the stepfather. This moment sealed Theodora's destiny and imprinted a lifelong lesson. She would never forget who abandoned her family and who offered compassion. By age 10, Theodora was performing the most degrading acts imaginable. Leader and the Swan became her specialty, lying naked on stage while trained geese picked barley seeds from her body, thousands of men cheering and tossing coins at a child's naked flesh. Yet the theatrical perversion was only the beginning. The real horror unfolded behind the hippodrome walls, where children as young as 8 were expected to provide intimate services to senators, merchants, and wealthy citizens. Byzantine law treated actresses and performers as equivalent to prostitutes. Physical submission wasn't just expected, it was legally enforced. Consider the psychological toll. A child who should be learning to read and write was instead discovering how men's carnal desires made them powerful, how pain could generate profit, and that her body was her only asset in a world that viewed her as disposable. But Theodora didn't merely survive, she studied. While other children broke under psychological torment, she analyzed the power dynamics. Each performance revealed how senators lost control and dignity over a child's body. She observed wealthy merchants become pathetic, desperate for their preferred entertainment. Every act became a masterclass in human weakness, intimate psychology, and the dark mechanics of desire. The hippodrome became her university, and the curriculum was manipulation through physical exploitation. The bearkeeper's death had created perfect conditions for producing history's most dangerous woman, someone who understood how to weaponize the very carnal appetites men assumed gave them power. And Theodora was about to graduate with deadly honors. For 6 years, Theodora endured the most barbaric practices in the ancient world. Yet while other children were destroyed by systematic abuse, she learned how to destroy the men who believed they owned her. By 16, she was the Hippodrome's most sought-after performer, not just for her body, but for her intelligence. The same senators and merchants who had thrown coins at her naked 10-year-old body now paid top prices for private sessions. They thought they were buying a prostitute. They had no idea they were shaping their own executioner. Then came the opportunity that would turn victim into predator. Hesselus, the Syrian governor of Libya, visited Constantinople seeking entertainment. One of Rome's most powerful provincial governors, he controlled immense wealth and military forces. Seeing Theodora perform, he didn't just want her for a night, he wanted complete possession. The offer was unprecedented: become his personal concubine, live in luxury, and escape the Hippodrome's trafficking forever. For a girl who had spent 6 years exploited by strangers, it seemed like salvation. In Libya, 56 CE, Theodora lived in Hesselus's palace for nearly 4 years. But this wasn't mere luxury, it was her graduate education in intimate manipulation. Here, she discovered that the barbaric practices she had endured could be wielded against the men who thought they controlled her. Hesselus believed he owned her body, but Theodora learned which desires humiliated him, which fantasies he would pay anything to satisfy, and which physical acts undermined his political judgment. Every intimate encounter becomes a lesson in psychological warfare. Yet the most important insight is this: powerful men become utterly helpless when they are physically dependent. Hacabilis, a commander of armies and governor of provinces, turns into a pathetic, desperate figure whenever she controls his access to pleasure. The same dynamic she witnessed as a child. Influential men losing dignity over erotic entertainment now becomes her primary weapon. Then comes a crucial mistake. Theodora begins using her intimate knowledge to sway his political decisions. When Hacabilis realizes his provincial policies are being influenced by his concubine's physical manipulation, he explodes in rage. The scene that follows exposes the grim reality of women's positions in this world. "Get out, you worthless Maine," Hacabilis screams, hurling her belongings into the burning Libyan sand. She stands alone in the desert heat, sweat beading on her skin, the bitter taste of dust and humiliation filling her mouth. After 4 years of luxury, she is cast back into trafficking with nothing. Yet this betrayal becomes her most valuable education. The journey back to Constantinople transforms her into history's deadliest, intimate predator. Ship by ship across the Mediterranean, she sells her body to survive. But now she applies everything learned from Hacabilis. The salt spray stings her face as she systematically undermines every man who believes he is using her. The cramped ship holds reek of unwashed bodies and desperation, but Theodora has learned to thrive here. Each night, in suffocating quarters, she discovers new ways to weaponize physical intimacy. The Roman merchant who pays extra for clever conversation, she learns his trade secrets and leverages them against his competitors. The ship captain who grants her free passage, she uncovers his smuggling operations and stores the knowledge for future advantage. Every coin becomes a case study in male weakness. She builds a mental archive of how desire makes powerful men vulnerable, foolish, and ultimately destroyable. In Alexandria, she makes a revelation that will alter everything. She converts to monophysite Christianity under Patriarch Timothy III. But this is not a spiritual awakening. It is strategic positioning. She is establishing a religious power base entirely independent of the trafficking system that shaped her. More importantly, in Antioch, she meets Macedonia, a blues faction performer who has been sending intelligence back to Constantinople. Macedonia reveals that a 40-year-old prince named Justinian has been asking pointed questions about the former circus girl who survived Libya. What Theodora doesn't yet realize is that her reputation has preceded her. Tales of a woman who can manipulate provincial governors, who survived abandonment and turned it into strength, who understands the dark psychology of powerful men better than they understand themselves. As her ship nears Constantinople's harbour, she glimpses the golden domes of the city that once cast her out as a child. But she is no longer the same girl who left. The barbaric practices meant to destroy her have instead created the most dangerous woman in the Roman Empire. She is about to meet the man who will give her the ultimate target for intimate revenge, an entire empire. What follows proves that the cruelest practices can be transformed into lethal political weapons. Theodora is ready to use everything learned, from systematic exploitation to seduce, manipulate, and ultimately control the future emperor of Rome. Constantinople, 522 CE. When 40-year-old Prince Justinian first sees Theodora at an elite court gathering, he believes he is looking at merely another beautiful former performer. He has no idea that he is staring at a woman who has spent 16 years mastering how to destroy powerful men. The seduction begins immediately, but this is no ordinary attraction. This is intimate warfare